to give them a support. I don't know where that's at, the location, but it's okay. Please talk to her after service so that we can lend as much as support as possible to the Sanchez family. Genesis chapter 32. And starting with the 24th verse. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and you have prevailed, and has prevailed. You may be seated. I know last week we talked about the life of Jacob and how he learned lessons. Jacob learned lessons. And I'm going to give you a question for yourself. And you may not be able to answer this question, but I just want you to think about it. How smart are you? Not what is your IQ, but how smart are you? How sharp are you? How wise are you? Now, as far as IQ goes, we all have different levels of IQs, our intelligence. Some people have a high intelligence. Their IQ is high. It doesn't mean they're wise, though. Someone could have a high IQ and not be wise. And somebody's IQ may be at a lower level, but they have wisdom. More important than how intelligent we are, how wise are we? And Jacob, we see something in him, and this is where this applies to you, it applies to me. Can we learn from our lessons? The definition of insanity from Einstein, to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. That we keep doing the wrong thing over and over and expecting it to turn into the right thing. Instead of saying, wait a second, this isn't working. Let me change it up. Let me change my way. Instead of trying to get everyone else to adapt around me. To get you to, like I mold you like clay, to adapt to my life. Instead of doing that, let me look and say, what do I need to do with my life? That I learn from my mistakes. And Jacob, the reason I picked this scripture, I touched it last week, that the first visitation that Jacob had, he didn't realize it was God. And I could reflect back, and I know it has to happen in your life too, that you had a visitation from God and you didn't even know it. That God was there and you didn't even realize it. That you think you got yourself through something and it really wasn't you, it was God. But the next time that it happened, he said, no way am I going to miss this. So he went and he fought. He said, I'm going to fight and I'm not letting go. I'm not letting go until you bless me. That's a powerful words. Can you hold on until God blesses you? I'm going to tell you, that's not easy. You know what's easy is to let go. You know what's easy is to quit. It's easy to quit. It's easy to, as they say, throw in the towel, which is a boxing term. You throw in the towel. So when a boxer's losing and the trainer's on the side and he throws in the towel. You think of the movie Rocky, and Apollo's getting smashed, and his older trainer's telling Rocky, Throw in the towel. You all see there's a meme out there of him yelling, the old trainer. You have seen it. He's telling him, boom, and Rocky won't throw the towel because Apollo Creed said, don't throw it. But it's easy to throw that towel. To throw that towel and to quit. To tap out. I can't do this. Don't tell me you haven't got weary. Don't tell me you haven't got tired. Don't tell me you haven't got where you got faint. Sometimes it's just like, it's going to take everything I have just to get back on my feet and get moving. I don't have all the energy to deal with all this nonsense. I got bigger fish to fry. I'm talking about you. Someone throws some little pebble at you, and it's like, I don't have time for that pebble. I don't have time for that juvenile, childish stuff. Watch it when people throw pebbles at you. Because you know what? You have a fight to fight, and if they can get you into a pebble war that turns into a rock war, you're going to lose your fight because you're focusing on throwing rocks at somebody. Well, they don't know what they're talking about, and they said this, and they let them say what they say. Let them think what they think. Right? Your mind is too precious for you to worry about what someone might be thinking. My belief is most people really don't know us. They think they know us. They know a version of us. They know someone else's interpretation of us. Sometimes I get an interpretation brought back to me, and I'm kind of like, man, that is so far off. It's like, man. It's like anyone that knows me would know that's not me. And I'm just like, but it sounds good to them. But that's all right. And here, one of the reasons I look forward to going and seeing the Lord face to face, because there'll be no mix up there. It'll be like, okay, you think you know, but you don't know. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the pebble throwers. And I don't know where they get that energy anyways. How do you find the time to go on social media and type all that up anyways? Right? Man, where do you find that time? I don't have it. Time to go type something on social media dragging your name. Right? Or jump into some thread for 2 hours. I'm going to share this story before we keep moving. But we had a literal rocket scientist that would come to this church. He was a rocket scientist. And I was preaching one Sunday, and I was giving this instruction. And I said, don't get into arguing with people about the beliefs and the word and all these things. And then afterwards, he comes up to me and he says, you were talking to me. He says, I get into all these arguments and debates on social media. And he says, I have to stop doing that. It was a rocket scientist. You want to know? He probably had a genius IQ. He passed away. That's why I said we actually did his service here also. But he afterwards, he comes up to me and he says, I need to stop getting into all these arguments on social media. He said, well, that's a given. Some people, it's not. Because people will think they could change other people's minds. And I know I said this, I'll say this again, but I'm going to give you another one. What's hard is to change a man, right? It's hard to change a man. But you know what else is hard? Making peace with your past. So I'm shifting gears here. What's hard is to make peace with your past. Why do I say that? Because Jacob made a lot of mistakes, but he had to make peace with his past. What do I mean peace with our past? Not just peace with our past of our mistakes, but we do need to make peace with that. But peace in the past of things that people did wrong to us. You didn't like that. It's a hard thing because what do we want? We want justice. We want revenge, right? We want the story straightened out. But you got to make peace with it, because if you don't, you're not going to learn your lesson. Jacob made mistakes, but he had to get past his mistakes. Jacob went around deceiving, and then he got deceived. He got deceived by his father-in-law and then his own sons. 10 sons deceived him. Was the 10 sons taught by their grandmother? Because their grandmother taught their father how to deceive. Remember that? She taught him, hey, tell your dad that you're your brother. Tell your dad that you're Esau. Right? She taught him to deceive. But then she had grandsons, and those grandsons deceived the same son. I mean, the son of hers, but their father. Why? Because it was in them. The deception was in them. So deceptive, they told him that his son had died, Joseph. But Jacob had to learn, and he had to make peace with his past. That's a hard thing to do. That's a hard look at Brother Jeff here. This Brother Jeff, got two Brother Jeffs right next to each other, but this Brother Jeff, that a car went into his leg on a motorcycle, and now he has to, he's a little bit like Jacob if you watch him walk. What do I mean? He walks with a limp. Watch him when he walks with a limp. Jacob walked with a limp after this fight, because the hollow of his thigh got touched. He walked differently. But you could think to yourself, what if I didn't take that route on my motorcycle? What if I didn't get on my motorcycle that day? What if I wouldn't have went to work that day? What if I would just went a little slower? Maybe that car wouldn't have hit me. But you got to make peace. You got to make peace. Because if you didn't, would you even be sitting here right now? I'm going to say this, you probably wouldn't be here right now. He'd be somewhere else. Now, I'm saying that accident, it was because for you to meet us, he put his head down. It's like, you got to make peace with that though, because it doesn't sound fair. Because there might have been an easier way you think in your head. Right? I'm going to tell you, let me be transparent and human with you for a minute. Sometimes I think, God, isn't there an easier way to get me to the next place? Isn't there a smoother road? Can't we take the shutdown 101? The closed I-10? Right? Some of you, those of you that aren't in Arizona, you won't get that. But you got to watch yourself, right? You think you got the easy path jumping on the freeway, and all the cars are backed up. And the easiest path is the harder path now. And you jump off and you got to go down the surface street, and everyone else is thinking the same way as you are. Right? You got to regroup. You got to negotiate. And then what do people do? They start cutting off everyone else and driving like they're in a go-kart. Right? I was on the phone with my wife last night, and I'm on the inside slow lane, and everyone's going. There's 3 lanes. We're all going. Some guy's behind me starts honking at me. I'm like, I'm just going. And she's like, what's that? And I'm like, he just wants me to drive fast, even in the fast lane anyways. I'm not going super slow. And he zooms. And there he's going. All of a sudden, I come up to the light, and I'm like, I bet you he's sitting here. I'm still on the phone with her, and I said, there he is, sitting there. I'm like, what did that get you? You think you're going to reinvent the wheel. You think you're going to, let's go up into heaven and tell God how to run this world. Right? And I'm talking to myself. He's smarter than I am. He's wiser than I am. Let me get out of the way. And I'm not going to say that I'm ignorant. I'm just going to say I'm not as smart as he is. Does that sound fair? Because he's given me a brain. If I only had a brain. Some of you got that one. You should have all got that. But he gave me a brain. Let me use it efficiently, but let me use it wise enough to know I'm not smarter than he is. And that I would like to have a discussion and say, Lord, isn't there a better way to skin this cat? Right? Do we have to go this route? Because this mountain is getting tiring. My feet are getting sore. You ever get a callus? You ever get blisters from, you probably played basketball so much your feet got used to it. But when, on my big toe playing basketball, I'd get this big old blister. And my son here, it bothered him when he'd see it. Because it bothered him when he'd see my blister. I don't know if he remembers it, but I'd get this blister on my big toe from playing basketball. It's probably that move I would make. But if I went enough, the blister got calloused. But you get blisters, or you start swinging an axe, or a shovel, and then your hands get blistered, and then blisters pop. It's not good. It hurts. Some of us have some blisters in our life right now. Maybe on our feet or our hands, and we have to keep going. Our socks are getting holes in them. Our shoes are getting worn out, and it's like, Lord, can we have a talk? Isn't there an easier way to do this? Because it's hard. Brother Mario's shaking his head. That's where sometimes you can't think about next week. You can't think about next month. You just got to be like, let me just get up. Hold on. No drama right now. Anyone else? Brother Randolph? I'm glad people around me, they kind of know. It's like, don't drop anything heavy on me till I get the cobwebs out of my head. Right? Because I'm trying to get my balance still. And can it wait 30 minutes? And you're already tired, you're already weary, and then here comes. I know none of you would ever do this, but you know people that would. You just kind of lose it a little bit. Your neighbor, right? Your neighbor loses it a little bit. Slams the door. Your neighbor does it, huh, Sister April? We got to pray for Sister April's door. Bree's looking at me. Huh, Bree? Yeah, because Bree will know she'll tell you what she's thinking. You'll know what she's thinking from the other room. But I know you all levitate when you sleep, but sometimes you just get punched and punched and punched. And you want to maybe slam something, you want to scream. You want to blame somebody. And what's our initial reaction when someone throws a rock at us? Pick that rock up and throw it back, right? Right? No, you don't. Right? You better not. Those are the things that may come out. But you have to remember, like Jacob, last time I did that didn't turn out so well. I thought I was going to fix it, and I just made it worse. You know, sometimes someone gives me something, and the first thing I'll tell them, don't put gas on the fire. Pump your brakes. Don't make it worse. You know what most people do? They don't listen. They throw gas on it, and it's something that could have been diffused. Just keeps going. It turns into a forest fire. And don't even know what started it. You know, there's people out there, they got you. They throw something and know that you'll take it and throw gas on it. Then they step back. They go like this. I didn't do anything. But it's too far to go backwards now because so many things happen. See, I told you, I have a little bit of a brain here. But I see people, they're fire starters. They start something, and then they're real tricky. I didn't do anything. So why did you tell this person that this person said this? Right? Why? What was the purpose? And I'm going to tell you what they say. I keep it real. Right? No, you're not keeping it real. You're just putting fire where it doesn't need to go. Someone said something about somebody, and go tell them. Right? Can I get you, Sister Augie? Say, Sister Augie, guess what someone said about you? Right? Am I doing her any favors? Or am I doing whatever that is favors? No. So sometimes when it hits your ear, that's the last place it needs to move from. It just needs to stop. Right? Because what good is it? Now, how you handle yours when it hits you, that's in your hands. Sometimes when it hits me about me, sometimes I start laughing. Not because I enjoy it. I laugh because how out of bounds it is. It's like, man, that's so far from the truth. My family gets more upset than I do. They're all mad. I'm laughing. And I was just like, it's not even close to the truth. But it bothers them, of course, because I'm their dad. But sometimes I have to tell one of them, take it down, don't respond, don't reply. I don't know if he's watching online. From LA. Yeah. It gets to his ears, he's ready. He's ready to call the reinforcements. I'm like, I got to get on the phone. Back it up. You're just going to make it worse for me. But what happens? Someone throws a rock, we want to pick it up and want to throw it back. And guess what? That fish you went to fry, you can't fry it now. Because you're distracted. You're distracted. I want to go back, Brother Jordan, to Jacob. But before I do, you could look around this house. You could watch online. And you could pick something and say, they should change that right there. This right here should be done differently. Why doesn't somebody do this? Or how come nobody does that? Right? Can that thought cross someone's mind? How many things literally, physically on this property can someone look and say, that can be fixed or changed or dolled up? How many? How many things? A lot. Hundreds? How many things can we do differently in this house to make it better? Hundreds, right? Why don't we do this differently? How come we don't tweak this or tweak that? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things. I'm going to tell you, as a pastor, I have to put on the blinders, lest I get distracted on that weed that's in the side over there that I want to get out of my car and go pull just before church starts. Right? Right? Where I got to tell myself, don't. Sometimes I'll pull up, there'll be a shopping cart. I can't help it. I put my car in park and I take that shopping cart and I move it. But it's my temptation. But guess what? Then I see a cup and a plastic bag, right? And where does it end? Where's Pastor? Well, now he's out cleaning the parking lot. He's got the broom. It's time for him to preach, and he's sweeping the parking lot. Do you think that's a temptation? It is. But am I better for you right now if I was in the parking lot pushing that broom? Or if I'm standing up here telling you about learning lessons? So instead of looking and critiquing my moves, you got to say, where does he belong? And I'm going to say this because you may get it, you may not get it. There's two things I have to focus on. I got to focus on delivering from here to your ears, to your heart. And I got to make sure that air conditioning still kicks in. Easy peasy? Lemon squeezy? No. And I can't put my head in the ground because every month it hits. It's not magic. But if I lose my focus and I get distracted and I'm throwing rocks at people, next thing you know, there's no lights on. There's no AC. Do you see that? And I'm out in the parking lot with a shovel and I can't deliver any word because I'm distracted. So I have to decide where my energy goes. And I have to do my best, like I literally said, to stay in my lane. Because what happens? What happens if I lose my way? What happens is that I get distracted so much, I'm not able to deliver to you. I'm not able to communicate. I'm not able to stay in this right here. And you're talking to me, and I'm there physically, but my mind's gone. Because I'm somewhere else. Because I'm thinking about that rock that someone threw at me. I'm thinking about how someone did me dirty. I'm thinking about how life wasn't fair. And how come somebody did this to me? How come someone did? And if I would have only bought 20 acres of land in Gilbert. Right? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Why did I even make a relationship with that person? That thought ever crossed your mind? A couple of you, huh? Right? Man, I thought that person was good. It's like you found out they were tricking. People do that, deceiving. Pretend to be your friend, they're not your friend. Pretending they're on your side and they're not on your side. Pretending they got your back and they don't have your back. And then the person you thought that was going to protect you, they're throwing rocks at you. I know I've shared this, but in my friendships, I've always been this way. Nobody taught me this. Nobody told me this. But I always thought if you were friends, that you protected each other. Like you weren't the one to try and tear your friend down. And I see friends that tear each other down. I don't know if that's even a friendship. Right? And nobody ever taught me this. I'm going to get a little bit risky here. But if your friend had a girlfriend, or nowadays your friend is married, that female's off limits. Nobody's with me on that, a couple of you. Am I wrong? Right? Is it like you should be able to trust your friend around your girlfriend or wife? Right? Say, hey, I'm going to be out of town. I need you. Just keep an eye on my family. Does that sound like a friend you would? Yeah, right. I need some help. They're not getting it with me. There was a guy named Lee Majors. You may not know who he is, but you may know him as a $6 million man. And his wife was Farrah Fawcett. You may not know who she is. And his really close best friend, I'm trying to think of his name. You would know him. Famous actor. He asked him to watch his wife for him. He ended up with Farrah Fawcett. Went with his Lee Major's wife. Ryan O'Neal. Ryan O'Neal. They were like best friends. Said, hey, can you watch my wife? He watched her. Do you see that? Now, I know I'm using something a little bit sensitive here, but I'm just talking in general. Right? If I'm your friend, can I watch out for you? Can I, as they say, get your back? And when you have people like that in your life, you should cherish them. You should cherish them. Yes. I'm going to get to Jacob. It's 1:12. Start tying this thing up. But Sister Tanya, your dad had a special place with me, not just because of me and him, but because he was my father's best friend. And that means the world to me. Because there's no way my dad would be best friends with anybody that didn't have his back. My dad would be because loyalty, my dad was big on loyalty. And those of you that were at his service, I touched that. My dad was big on loyalty. And when somebody was disloyal, that was it. And he would tell people this. Because those of you that ever got on the side of him telling you something, like shaking you up, and people would get their feelings hurt, and this is what he would say. Don't worry when I jump you. That's not when you worry. He says, you need to worry when I don't say anything to you. He said, when I go silent on you, that's when you should worry. Because what he would do, if somebody was disloyal, boom. And it just wasn't disloyal to me. If they were disloyal to this, he would shut down on them. And they said, well, why doesn't he square up? Because he wouldn't want to put himself in that place. And you know, so many times, I just didn't tell him. I didn't. I know it'd probably bother him. I didn't tell him. Because the disloyalty would bother him. Not that it doesn't bother me. But to me, that should just be a given. Right? That's how it should be. Loyal. Not that we agree on everything. Because that's not, you can't be friends and agree on everything. Because it's not going to happen. But it doesn't mean we can't say, you know what? We see this differently, but let's just keep climbing this mountain. I got some water here. Let me give you a hand to get up this mountain. Because you already have enough on your plate. You don't need me jumping on your back. What do I mean? Not giving you lessons. No, what I mean is making your life heavier and worse. Making your life heavier or worse. But Jacob learned his lessons, Jordan. He learned his lessons. And I'm saying this not because I got it all figured out. I'm saying that I do know this. We have to make peace with our past. There's some things that happen in our lives we can't get back. The toothpaste is out of the tube. The bell's been rang. But you know what we can do? Is make peace with it. We can make peace with it. So go ahead and come up. Go ahead and come up. But I'm going to tell you this. It's not easy. It's not easy. And I'm not saying it's not easy to make it harder for you. I'm saying it's not easy to tell you, I get it. I understand. When I say it's not easy. So that you can understand that I understand that it's not easy for you. But it doesn't mean you should quit. It doesn't mean you should give up. Do you have a story? I have a story. You've gone through pain. The person next to you's gone through pain. And I'm not saying that lightly. I'm saying it to say, how about we look at each other and say, you know, I've been through things and you've been through things. And instead of saying, who's gone through it worse? Right? Right? Who's had it worse? Is that what we should try and figure out? Or should we say, let me help you to get through yours and you help me get through mine? And I'm going to tell you, I could look back and think of some things I went through and think, did I have to go through that? And the piece is, I guess I did. Why? Maybe because of you. If my life was perfect, Brother Jordan, how can I even relate to you? If I wouldn't have gone through my pain, how can I watch your pain? And I asked him this morning, I said, was it this week a fight for you? He said, yeah, it's been a fight. It's been a fight. Well, I know it's in a fight. How do I know? Well, most people won't know this, but Brother Jordan actually lived with us for a little while. He lived at our house, as did many people in here. Why? Because one day I was going to baptize. No. Do you think I even thought that? Was that on my radar? All my thinking is, can we be a light? That's all I'm thinking. And that young man I was talking about, I'm sure you had those moments where you probably like, oh, here he comes. Let me just walk down this area. Because good thing everyone had space, but those rooms, and I probably missed a lot. You probably got stories I don't even know, because we had the second story. There was they were all up in the second floor, and we weren't. But my thinking wasn't even, and I don't look at it that way. And some people criticize me as a pastor. What do I mean? I don't look and say, okay, Brother Jordan's going to be moving in with us, and he's going to be a potential member of NCC. Right? No, that's not my thinking. I don't think like that. And then people criticize it. No, because that's an agenda. But am I happy he's doing this? Yes. But you know what I'm more happy about? is that I see a young man fighting, and he's putting distance from the old man that used to be over here. See, that's what makes me happy. That I know that he's putting distance and he's becoming a stronger man, a wiser man. And he looks so stable, doesn't he? He looks stable, and he doesn't look like he's all shooken up. But I'll always remember the little boy. I will. But that little boy's way gone. He's way gone. He's way gone. But that you learned lessons. And I've learned lessons, and you've learned lessons. And we move forward. And we have to make peace. Sister Tanya, it's a process. Every day is a process. Tomorrow will be another day, another day. And all I can imagine right now, you're just thinking, I just need to get past Saturday right now. That's all. And guess what? That's all right. That's all right. You just got to get past Saturday. The last thing you need is for me to make your life worse. The last thing you need is to worry that I'm going to step up here and say the wrong thing. The last thing you need is for me to get up and mistreat your family verbally because I keep it real. Say, well, where's the truth? The truth should be living in our lives. And what's that? Love, compassion, mercy, grace, right? I have to believe you're not losing sleep that pastor's going to blow it. Right? And don't think that I don't go through my mind to say, you keep it as excellent and as dialed in and as focused as you possibly can. Out of love for the Sanchez family, out of love for Brother Joey, right? And that I would have to believe that he would say, I know that pastor's not going to take out a sword and knock heads off. I'm finished. I'm ministering. But there's people from other churches that'll lose a loved one and they'll ask me to go do the service. Anyone want to know why? Because they don't trust that their pastor's not going to go up and lop their family's head off. It is sad. They'll go to him for everything else, but ain't going to him to send their family home. Because that's not where they're going to send them. And they're going to keep it real. Whoever gave them the decision anyways to decide who's going to heaven. Yeah, I know I'm getting people mad. But I'm glad that those men don't decide where we go. I'm going to give you this. When the Lord gave King David a choice. You remember this? Remember? He said, do you want to have me make the decision on this, or you want me to put you in the hands of man? Right? What did King David say? What did he say? He says, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to let you decide the punishment. Not man. And I look at it the same way. I'm glad that God decides my fate. and not a man deciding. Because what would man say about you? Because I already know what they say about you. That you're not worthy. Man would say you're not worthy. And man would say I'm not worthy. But guess what? There's truth to that. There's truth. But I'm glad they don't decide my worthiness. But because of him, Brother Jordan, you're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy. 125. We're open this altar. Yes, where I get the offering. I got to give you this. I got to give you this. Anyone ever feel like you are unworthy? Anyone ever feel undeserving? Has anyone ever done this? You pray for a blessing, but then there's part of you that feels, do I really deserve that? How about this one? When you pray, I know some of you that's not the case. I'm just for those that there's some things you don't even want to ask God for. Because you feel like, do I even deserve that? Does that make sense? Does it make sense? It's like, do I even deserve it? That's where we have to make peace with. Because we're not worthy and we're not deserving. But he makes us worthy and he makes us deserving. Let's stand. But guess what you got to do too? You have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself. Let's see how we can do this. I'm going to have you guys go to the back, the ushers. And if anybody's going to be leaving and you want to leave your offering, you can leave your offering. If the rest of you, if you're not leaving, we're going to open this altar. You could come to the altar or you could pray at your seat. I just don't want to miss. I know I'm mixing two things here, but I want to give you a chance to pray before we go further and get ready to baptize Brother Jordan. The altar's open.
Our God is awesome. 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 Our God is awesome. He can move